The I2C interface on the Pi is turned off or disabled by default. If you want to use it, you have to actually enable it first. There are two ways to enable it. So first way is to use the SSH and then change the configuration on the terminal. So that's SSH into this. And the program you want to run is you want to use a sudo with admin privileges. And it's called a raspi-config. And enter. Use your arrow key to select the interface options, enter. And then go down to I2C right here. You enter. And then it says, would you like to enable? And then you select yes. You can use arrow key to choose. So it's by default yes. So you just enter yes. And now it says the the ARM I2C interface is enabled. ARM is the name of the chip. And so that's that. So you click OK, and then press the tab key. And then it goes down to the bottom two options there, select or finish. And then you use the right key to choose and finish. You enter finish. So that's it. This is one way to do it. And I would say this is probably the easier way. Now, the other way is to use the GUI. So we can connect to the Pi remotely with the VNC. So open the VNC viewer, and then you connect to that Pi. Now, I want to mention one thing though. If your let's say if your Pi initially, as I said, when you do the initial setup, you have to have a monitor. So after that setup is done, you no longer need it. And by default, the Pi actually may give you an issue if you want to try to connect a VNC to it without the monitor later on, because it does not know the resolution setting. And the way to fix that, actually, if you have trouble, open this up. If you have disconnected the Pi from a monitor, and actually you have to go back to the Raspberry config, and you need to set. So use the Raspberry config, choose the display options. And then the first one is resolution, and select that. And then you need to pick a screen resolution. I already have something chosen. Now, this resolution is probably not going to match the resolution you have on your computer that you're trying to access the Pi from. It doesn't really matter, and then you can see the desktop in the window within your computer. That is fine. You're not going to get a perfect resolution match. There's not a whole lot of options right here. So just pick. I would just pick the highest resolution if your your remote computer allows it. At least it needs to be as good as the resolution that we're choosing here. And if you have a relatively newer computer, probably this 1920 by 1080, and that should just work fine. So that's what I have chosen. So so you just choose that. I already have that done. And then, by the way, to exit the program, if you don't want to change anything, just hit the escape key. Okay, and multiple times sometimes to close all the windows. So you need to have that thing done if you're you don't want to connect the Pi to a monitor anymore. And that's kind of the idea. You don't necessarily want to connect that, keep that connected to a monitor. You don't need to. So once you're here, and then we can change the configuration by going to preferences. And there's this Raspberry Pi configuration. And then you go into the References tab, and you see the I2C. By default, it would be disabled. And then you click on Enable, and then click OK, right? So that's it. That's how you enable I2C interface.